Mrs. Blankenbeckler. I am going to go over the patterns of I with you. And in order to do that, I brought this little prop for us. This little prop is a trophy. And when you win it, what do you say? I won, I won. And guess what? That's the pattern of I. So let's go through the pattern of I so I can show you how I won. Okay, there are 4 patterns in the I. You've got I squared, I cubed, and I to the 4th. Let's look at what each value is. Okay, I is just simply the square root of -1. So when you simplify -1, take it out as I. Now, let's think about what I squared is. If I square a square root, I just get what's under the radical. So the square root of -1 squared is -1. Now let's look at I cubed. I cubed is I times I squared. Well, I squared is -1 times I itself is -1 times I, which is -I. Now, I to the 4th. Well, I can break down I to the 4th is I squared times I squared. So what's -1 times -1? +1. Okay, so where does the trophy tie into all this? I won. I won. 2 negatives in the middle. So the pattern of I is I won, 2 negatives in the middle of the pattern. Now, how can you use this to simplify? Well, I to the 5th power is simply I to the 4th times I to the 1st, which is just simply I. I to the 6th will be the next one in the pattern. I to the 7th will be the next one in the pattern. I to the 8th will be the next one in the pattern. So you use this pattern of 4, the 4 in the pattern, to solve exponents powers of I. So let's look at I to the 10th. Okay, where's it going to fall? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's going to be I. It's the same thing as I squared, or -1. Okay? So that's how you figure out the pattern. Let's try I to the 19th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. It's I to the -1st. Well, those are all pretty, or -I, excuse me. It's I, the same as I cubed. That's pretty easy, but what happens when we get I really big? What if I get I to the 251st power? I don't want to count 251 times. So I'm going to take 250 and divide it by 4. I'm going to get 60, let's see, 62 with a remainder of 3. That means I'm going to have to count through the pattern 62 times. I don't want to do that. But what I do know is that the remainder of 3 is what I need to worry about. That means it's the 3rd one in the pattern. 1, 2, 3. It's -I. So I to the 251st is -I. Okay, the only catch is if there's no remainder, that means it's either the 4th or just +1. If there's 1 remainder, it's I. If there's 2 remainders, it's -1. 3 remainders, -I. And if there's not a remainder, if it goes evenly, it's just a +1. So, that's your lesson on I.